The massive space station hung in the dark void like a silver jewel. Tae-ho pressed his face against the small window of the human transport ship and watched it grow larger. After 3 months of travel from Earth, they had finally reached the Galactic Council's main station. "First time seeing it?" asked Sora, sitting beside him. She was his cultural advisor, a smart woman who had spent years studying alien languages and customs. "Yes," Tae-ho replied. "It's bigger than I expected." The station was truly enormous. It looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space, with long arms reaching out in all directions. Thousands of ships from different worlds moved around it like busy insects. Some ships looked like metal birds, others like floating crystals, and some had shapes that hurt to look at. Dongwu walked over to them. He was their military advisor, a tall man with careful eyes. "The captain says we'll dock in 20 minutes, he told them. Yujin looked up from her computer. She was their communications expert, always busy with her machines. "I'm getting signals from 47 different species," she said with excitement. "Some of these languages use sounds humans." "Can't even make?" Tae-ho nodded. As Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, he carried a heavy responsibility. In his briefcase was humanity's formal request to join the galactic community. After 50 years of careful radio contact with alien worlds, this was humanity's chance to take its place among the stars. The docking process was smooth. Their ship connected to the station with a soft thud. When the airlock opened, they were met by 3 alien beings. The first was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in beautiful patterns. This was Veltar, the Council Prime who led all meetings. "Welcome, humans," Veltar said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We are pleased to finally meet you in person." The second alien was much different. Krexmol stood on 6 legs and had a hard shell like a giant insect. Its black eyes reflected everything around it. This was the military coordinator of the council, representing the warrior species called the Zephyrians. "Your journey was long," Krexmol clicked. "We hope it was comfortable." The third alien was covered in green scales and moved with liquid grace. Sishara represented one of the older council members. Its yellow eyes studied the humans carefully. "Come," Veltar said. "We will show you to your quarters. Tomorrow we begin the formal discussions." They walked through corridors that curved and twisted in impossible ways. The walls showed pictures of different worlds, red deserts under purple skies, crystal cities floating in clouds, and oceans that glowed with their own light. Aliens of every shape and size moved past them, some paying attention to the humans, others ignoring them completely. Their quarters were comfortable but simple. 4 connected rooms with furniture that could change shape to fit human bodies. Large windows showed the star field outside. "The formal sessions begin tomorrow," Veltar explained. "You will present your request to the full council. After that, we will have several days of cultural exchange and discussion." That evening, the humans sat together in their main room, going over their plans one more time. "Remember," Tae-ho said, "we want to show them that humans are peaceful and ready to be good neighbors. Earth has much to offer. Our art, our science, our different cultures." Sora spread out her notes. "I've prepared presentations about human history, but I'm focusing on our achievements in medicine and exploration. I'll avoid talking too much about our wars." Dongwu frowned. "Maybe we shouldn't hide our military history completely. Some of these species respect strength." "No," Tae-ho said firmly. "We're here as diplomats, not soldiers. We need to prove that humans can solve problems with words, not weapons." Yujin was monitoring alien communications. "I'm picking up a lot of chatter," she said. "Most of it seems curious about us, but some of it—" She paused. "Some of it sounds worried." "Worried? About what?" asked Sora. "About humans in general. They've been studying our old radio broadcasts, our movies, our history books. Some of them think we're too violent to join the council." Tae-ho wasn't surprised. Human history was full of wars and conflict, but it was also full of growth, learning, and change. That's exactly why we're here, he said, to show them who we really are now. The next morning, they entered the council chambers. It was the most amazing room any of them had ever seen. The ceiling rose high above them, painted with moving pictures of different star systems. Seats for the alien representatives formed a great circle, with Earth's small table in the center. 47 different species were represented. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that looking at them made the humans dizzy. There were beings made of gas held together by force fields, creatures that looked like living plants, and things that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Taeho stood and opened his briefcase. Inside was a simple document, humanity's request to join the Galactic Council. But he knew that the real test wasn't the paper. It was whether these aliens could look past human history and see human potential. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the great chamber. "I am Taeho, speaking for all humans on Earth. We come to you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as neighbors who wish to learn and share." As he spoke, he noticed some of the aliens watching him with obvious suspicion. Sisahara's yellow eyes never left his face. A blue creature that looked like it was made of liquid metal seemed to be recording everything. In the far corner, a being covered in fur was whispering to its neighbors. But Taeho had been a diplomat for many years. He had learned to read rooms and people. Something felt wrong here. The suspicion was too organized, too focused. This felt less like normal diplomatic caution and more like a trial where the verdict had already been decided. Still, he continued with his presentation, describing Earth's achievements and humanity's desire for peaceful cooperation. Sora showed images of human art and culture. Yujin demonstrated some of Earth's communication technologies. When they finished, Veltar stood. "Thank you for your presentation. We will now begin the discussion period. This will last several days, during which you will remain as our guests while we consider your request." The word guests seemed to hang in the air a little too long. Taeho smiled politely, but inside, his diplomatic instincts were sending warning signals. He had the feeling that this mission was about to become much more complicated than anyone on Earth had expected. The second day started with what seemed like a friendly cultural exchange. Veltar had arranged for different species to share their art, music, and history with the humans. Sora was fascinated by the crystal sculptures that sang when touched, while Yujin marveled at mathematical poetry that existed only as pure information. But Taeho noticed that Krexmol kept watching them with those black, unblinking eyes. Every question the insect-like alien asked seemed designed to learn more about human military capabilities than human culture. "Tell me about your defensive systems," Krexmol clicked during what was supposed to be a discussion about Earth's architecture. "We have standard planetary defenses," Dongwu replied carefully. "Nothing unusual for a species that has reached space travel." "But your history shows many conflicts," Sisahara interrupted, slithering closer on its snake-like body. "How do we know you have truly changed?" Taeho stepped forward smoothly. "That's exactly why we're here, to prove through our actions that humanity has grown beyond its violent past." The questions continued, getting more pointed and aggressive. Other aliens who had seemed friendly the day before now watched the humans with suspicion. Something had changed overnight, but Taeho couldn't figure out what. The answer came after lunch. Krexmol called for a special session of the council. "We have received disturbing information about the human delegation," it announced to the assembled aliens. Holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed what looked like Earth's moon, but with massive military installations built into its surface. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets pointed toward space. "This was taken by our long-range scouts," Krexmol continued. "The humans have been lying to us. While they speak of peace, they have built the largest military base in their solar system. Taeho stared at the images in shock. They were fake. He was certain of it. Earth's moon had research stations and mining operations, but nothing like what the hologram showed. "That's not real," Sora said, standing up. "Those installations don't exist." "Are you calling the Council's intelligence false?" Sisahara hissed. More images appeared. Space stations hidden in asteroid belts, massive shipyards building warships, weapons that the aliens claimed could crack planets in half. All of it was fake, but it looked convincing. "We have no choice," Veltar announced, its crystal body flashing with serious colors. "Until we can investigate these claims, the human delegation must be placed in protective custody." "Protective custody?" Yujin asked. "For everyone's safety," Krexmol said, but there was something like satisfaction in its clicking voice. Guards. Appeared large armored beings that surrounded the humans. They weren't rough, but they made it clear that arguing would be useless. Their quarters had become a prison. The windows were blocked, their communication equipment was removed, and guards stood outside their door. They could talk to each other, but they couldn't contact Earth or anyone else. "This is insane," Sora said, pacing back and forth. "Those images were completely fake. Any real investigation would prove that." "That's the point," Dongwu said grimly. "They don't want a real investigation. This was planned from the beginning." Yu Jin was working on a small device she had hidden in her clothes. "I might be able to tap into the station's communication system," she whispered. "Give me some time." Tae-ho sat quietly, thinking. Something about this whole situation felt familiar, like a pattern he had seen before in his years as a diplomat. But this time, the stakes were much higher than trade agreements or border disputes. Hours passed. Finally, Yujin's device beeped softly. "I'm in," she whispered. "But what I'm seeing—" Her face went pale. "What is it?" asked Sora. "There's a fleet," Yujin said, her voice shaking. "A massive alien fleet. It left the station yesterday right after our first presentation. They're heading toward Earth." Dongwu moved quickly to look at the display. His military training helped him understand what he was seeing. "That's not a diplomatic mission," he said. "That's an invasion force." "How long until they reach Earth?" Taeho asked. Yujin calculated quickly. "At their current speed, 18 days. The room fell silent. Everything became clear now. The fake evidence, the protective custody, the questions about Earth's defenses. This had never been about membership in the Galactic Council. This was about eliminating what they saw as a threat before it could grow too powerful. "We have to warn Earth," Sora said. "How?" Dongwu asked. "They've cut off all our communications." "There might be a way," Yujin said, still working on her device. "But it would take time, and if they catch me—" "Do it," Taeho said. But as Yujin worked, something strange was happening to their ambassador. Instead of looking worried or angry, Taeho was beginning to smile. It was a small smile at first, barely visible, but as the hours passed and they learned more about the alien fleet heading toward Earth, the smile grew. "Taeho?" Sora asked. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," he replied, but the smile never left his face. "This isn't funny," Dongwu said. "Earth is in danger?" "I know," Taeho said, and his smile grew a little wider. That night, Yujin managed to send a brief message to Earth. It was hidden in routine data transmissions, disguised as background noise. But she got it through. "Message sent," she whispered. "Earth knows they're coming." Taeho nodded, still smiling. His three companions were starting to feel uneasy. There was something about that smile that didn't match their terrible situation. The next morning, Krexamol visited them personally. "Your planet will be given a chance to surrender," it said. Our fleet carries enough firepower to reduce your world to ash, but we are not without mercy. Mercy? Sora asked. We will allow your people to relocate to suitable worlds where they can be supervised. Your violent tendencies make you unsuitable for independence, but you need not be destroyed. Tejo listened to all of this, nodding politely. But that smile never disappeared from his face. You seem pleased by this news, Krexmole observed, tilting its insect head. Do I? Tejo asked. How interesting. After Krexmole left, Dongwu confronted their ambassador. What's going on with you? Our world is about to be attacked, and you're acting like you just heard good news. Tejo looked at his three companions, his friends who had trusted him, to lead this mission. Tell me, he said quietly, what do you know about my background before I became a diplomat? You were a teacher, Sora said. You taught political science at the university. Before that, Tejo said. They looked at each other. None of them had ever asked about Tejo's life before his academic career. I was many things, Tejo said, his smile growing cold. But what these aliens don't understand is that humans don't just study our own history. We learn from it. He walked to the blocked window, looking out at the stars where an alien fleet was racing toward Earth. They've made a very serious mistake, he said softly. They think they know what humans are capable of, but they've only seen our past. They have no idea what we've become. The emergency meeting in Geneva happened in the middle of the night. President Hyunwoo had called together the most important people on Earth after receiving Yu Jin's hidden message. The news was worse than anyone had imagined. How long do we have? Asked Admiral Yunji, commander of the Terran Space Navy. 15 days, replied General Kite from Planetary Defense. Maybe 16 if they slow down. Dr. Yoon Ah, head of Defensive Technologies, was already working on her tablet. We always knew this might happen, she said. That's why we built the Prometheus network. Most people in the room knew about Project Prometheus, but few understood its full scope. For 30 years, since humans first detected alien radio signals, Earth's governments had secretly prepared for the worst possible outcome of first contact. Show them, President Hyunwoo said. Dr. Yuna activated the main display. The solar system appeared, showing Earth, the Moon, Mars, and the asteroid belt. But now, thousands of red dots appeared throughout the system. Hidden defense stations, Dr. Yuna explained. Built into asteroids, concealed on the dark sides of moons, floating in space disguised as debris. Each one is powered by clean fusion reactors and armed with weapons designed specifically to fight in space. Admiral Yunji leaned forward. How many ships can we field? The aliens are expecting primitive spacecraft, said Captain Jae-sung, who had just arrived from his secret mission. They're not expecting the silent fleet. For 20 years, Captain Jae-sung had commanded humanity's most classified project. While the world knew about the civilian space program, very few knew about the military vessels hidden throughout the solar system. We have 200 ships ready for combat, he continued. Not large, but fast, and equipped with stealth technology. The aliens have never seen. The stealth technology was humanity's greatest secret. While aliens used energy shields and powerful engines, humans had focused on being invisible. Their ships could disappear from any known sensor system. What about their numbers? Asked General Kite. Captain Jae-sung's navigator, Min-ho, had been tracking the alien fleet since it left the council station. 700 ships, he reported, but they're designed for traditional warfare, large vessels with heavy armor, and massive weapons. They think they're hunting primitive humans, said weapons specialist Hae-won. They're actually walking into the most advanced defensive network in the galaxy. Dr. Yuna brought up more displays. Every major asteroid in the belt has been hollowed out and converted into a fortress. Mars has hidden shipyards that have been building vessels for decades. Even Earth's moon has facilities they've never detected. President Hyunwoo looked around the room. Are we ready? We've been ready for 30 years, Admiral Yunji replied. The question is whether we should tell the world what's coming. No, said Dr. Chang Ho, the civilian representative. Panic would help no one. Besides, most of the fighting will happen far from Earth. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The aliens expected to find a single world with basic defenses. Instead, they would face a fortress system that extended from Earth to Jupiter. Every planet, moon, and major asteroid had been secretly prepared for this day. Captain Bo-Ra of the stealth destroyer Ghost Wind received her orders first. Take your squadron to the outer system, Admiral Yunji told her. Start the harassment campaign as soon as they enter the Neptune zone. Commander Sung Min of the Shadow Strike got similar orders. His job was to coordinate with the hidden bases in the asteroid belt, turning what looked like empty space into a killing ground. But the most important job went to Engineer Da Yun, who controlled the Prometheus network from a hidden facility inside Earth's moon. Her fingers danced across controls that could activate weapons throughout the solar system. Remember, Admiral Yunji told them all, we're not trying to wipe them out. We're trying to stop them while showing that humans are not the primitive species they think we are. Dr. Wu Jin, who had developed the secret nanobotic weapons, explained the plan further. Our goal is to disable their ships, not destroy them. We want prisoners, not corpses. The galaxy needs to understand that humans fight with precision, not rage. Meanwhile, millions of miles away, the alien fleet continued toward Earth. Their commanders were confident. They had studied human history and seen nothing but primitive weapons and chaotic warfare. They expected to arrive at a defenseless world, populated by barely civilized beings. Veltar, leading the fleet from its crystal command ship, had reviewed the intelligence reports. Humans had only achieved spaceflight recently. Their vessels were simple chemical rockets. Their weapons were crude nuclear devices. This would be a simple operation. Krexamol, commanding the military forces, was less confident but still certain of victory. Humans are cunning, it told its officers, but cunning cannot overcome superior technology and numbers. Sis Hara, representing the Council's interests, wanted the operation to be swift. The longer this takes, the more questions other species will ask. We need Earth subdued quickly and quietly. What none of them knew was that human intelligence had been tracking their movements since they left the Council station. Every ship in their fleet had been identified, catalogued, and assigned to specific human units. Captain Jae-sung floated in his command chair aboard the Silent Thunder, watching the alien fleet approach. His ship was invisible to their sensors, hanging motionless in space like a waiting predator. All units report ready, his communications officer whispered. Weapons are armed, added Hae-won. Navigation plots are locked in, said Min-ho. Captain Jae-sung smiled grimly. The aliens had made a fatal error. They had confused humanity's desire for peace with weakness. They were about to learn the difference between a species that couldn't fight and a species that chose not to fight. Begin Operation Prometheus, he ordered. Throughout the solar system, hidden bases came alive. Weapons that had waited in darkness for 30 years powered up. Ships that had floated silent and invisible began to move. The greatest defensive network ever built by any species activated with quiet precision. The aliens thought they were coming to conquer a primitive world. Instead, they were flying into a trap that had been 30 years in the making. Humanity had learned from its violent history, but it had not forgotten those lessons. Earth was ready for war. The first shots fired in the war came from what the aliens thought was empty space. Captain Bo-Ra's squadron struck without warning, appearing from nowhere to hit the alien fleet's outer scouts. 3 enemy ships found themselves crippled before. They even knew they were under attack. Admiral Yunji watched the battle unfold from her flagship, Indomitable, hidden in the shadow of Pluto. The alien fleet was massive, 700 ships spread across millions of kilometers. But they were flying in formation, meant for traditional space warfare, not the invisible enemy they now faced. "First wave successful," reported Captain Bora. "Enemy scouts disabled. No casualties on our side." The aliens immediately went into defensive positions, their ships clustering together like frightened animals. But they couldn't defend against enemies they couldn't see. Commander Sung Min struck next. His ships emerged from the asteroid belt like ghosts, hitting the alien fleet's supply vessels. Instead of destroying them, the human weapons sent out electronic pulses that shut down engines and weapons while leaving life support intact. "What are they doing?" Krexmol demanded from its command ship. "Where are these attacks coming from?" Veltar's crystal body flashed with confused colors. "Our sensors show nothing. The attacks seem to come from empty space." On the council station, Teho was watching the battle through the same tactical displays the aliens were using. His smile had grown wider with each successful human attack. "You seem pleased," Sisahara observed, slithering into the human's prison chamber. "Your world is being attacked." "Is it?" Teho asked mildly. Sora, Dongwu, and Yujin were also watching the displays. They could see that human forces were winning, but they didn't understand how. "Teho," Sora whispered, "how is this possible? Earth doesn't have this kind of military." "Doesn't it?" Teho replied, still smiling. On the battlefield, Engineer Dayun activated the next phase of the defense. Hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves, their weapons reaching out across vast distances to strike alien ships with surgical precision. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that was everywhere and nowhere. Human ships would appear, strike, and vanish before the aliens could respond. Meanwhile, weapons fired from asteroids that had seemed empty and lifeless. "Sir," Heiwan reported to Captain Jae-sung, "the enemy is trying to regroup around their command ships." "Let them," Captain Jae-sung replied. "It will make the next phase easier." Dr. Wu Jin's nanobotic weapons were deployed in the second hour of battle. Tiny machines, invisible to alien sensors, began infiltrating the enemy fleet. They moved through space like mechanical dust, seeking out alien ships and beginning the slow process of shutting down their systems. What horrified the alien commanders most was how precise the human attacks were. No ships were being destroyed. No crews were being killed. Instead, human weapons seemed designed to disable and capture rather than kill and destroy. "They're not fighting to win," Veltar said, its crystal body dim with confusion. "They're fighting to prove a point." Back on the station, Krexmol burst into the human's chamber. "What is happening?" it demanded. "Our fleet reports attacks from invisible enemies. Our ships are being disabled by weapons we cannot detect." Teho looked up from the tactical display. "You wanted to know about human military capabilities," he said pleasantly. "Now you're learning." "This is impossible," Krexmol clicked. "You are a primitive species. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "In some areas, yes," Teho agreed. "But humans have always specialized in areas where we needed to excel, and we've needed to excel at warfare for a very long time." Dongwu was beginning to understand. "You knew this would happen," he said to Teho. "I hoped it wouldn't," Teho replied. "But yes, we prepared for it." The battle continued for 6 hours. By the end, more than half the alien fleet was disabled. Their ships floated dead in space, weapons offline, engines shut down, but life support still functioning. Admiral Yunji opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Yunji of the Terran Defense Force. You have attacked our world without provocation. However, we are prepared to offer assistance to your disabled vessels." The offer of help shocked the aliens more than the defeat itself. Species that had just been attacked were offering to rescue their attackers. "Why?" Veltar asked over the communication channel. Because that's who humans are, Admiral Yunji replied. We fight when we must, but we help when we can. Rescue ships, commanded by Captain Seok Jin and Commander Ji Young, moved through the battlefield, offering medical aid and emergency supplies to alien crews whose ships had been disabled. On the council station, Tae-ho finally stood and faced his captors. You studied human history and learned about our capacity for violence, he said, but you missed the most important lesson. Which is? Sisahara asked. We don't start wars, Tae-ho said, his smile never wavering. But we always finish them. Krexmol was studying the tactical displays in disbelief. Your fleet. It appeared from nowhere. Our intelligence showed no sign of these ships. Your intelligence was looking for the wrong things, Tae-ho explained. You expected us to build big, obvious weapons like your own. Instead, we built small, hidden ones. You expected us to fight like you fight. Instead, we fought like humans. But how? Veltar asked. How did you hide an entire fleet? Tae-ho's smile grew cold. We didn't hide a fleet. We hid an entire civilization's military capability. For 30 years, every asteroid mine, every research station, every civilian facility has had a secondary purpose. Earth isn't just a planet with defenses. Earth is a fortress that happens to have a planet inside it. The truth was finally becoming clear to the aliens. They hadn't attacked a primitive world. They had attacked the most heavily defended system in the galaxy, protected by a species that had turned warfare into an art form. You planned this, Sisahara accused. We prepared for this, Tae-ho corrected. There's a difference. We hoped you would accept us as peaceful neighbors. When you chose to see us as threats instead, you forced us to show you what a real threat looks like. Dr. Chang-ho's voice came over the communication channel from Earth. All alien crews will be treated according to standard humanitarian protocols. Medical assistance is available for any who need it. We look forward to negotiations for the return of your personnel. Tae-ho looked at his three companions, who were staring at him with new understanding. You weren't just an ambassador, Sora said quietly. No, Tae-ho agreed. I wasn't. But I hoped I could be just an ambassador. You forced me to remember what I used to be. Which was? Dongwu asked. Tae-ho's smile became gentle, but somehow that made it more frightening. Someone who understands that peace is only possible when your enemies know the cost of war. The alien fleet was in chaos. What had started as a confident invasion had become a nightmare of invisible enemies and impossible defeats. Ships that had never lost a battle now floated helpless in space, their crews trapped inside vessels that no longer responded to commands. Veltar tried to maintain order from its crystal command ship, but even it was beginning to panic. How many ships have we lost? It asked. None destroyed, reported the tactical officer, a being made of flowing metal. But 437 are completely disabled. And casualties? 12 injured when the nanobots shut down their medical systems too quickly. No deaths. That was perhaps the most terrifying part. The humans weren't just winning. They were winning without killing anyone. It suggested a level of control and precision that no species in the galaxy had ever achieved. Captain Jae-sung watched the alien fleet from his invisible ship, Silent Thunder. His stealth technology kept him hidden even as he floated among the enemy vessels. The data his ship was collecting would be valuable for future encounters. Captain, Haiwan reported, I'm detecting communication attempts from the alien command. Ship! Let me hear it, Captain Jae-sung said. Veltar's voice came through the speakers, sounding desperate. Human ships, this is Fleet Prime Veltar. We request immediate ceasefire to discuss terms. Captain Jae-sung smiled grimly. Tell them we'll consider it after they explain why they attacked a peaceful diplomatic mission. Meanwhile, Dr. Wu Jin's nanobots continued their work throughout the alien fleet. The tiny machines moved through enemy ships like invisible ghosts, shutting down weapons and engines while carefully avoiding life support systems. It was the most sophisticated, non-lethal warfare ever attempted. On the Council Station, the mood was very different. What had seemed like an easy victory was becoming a complete disaster. Krex Mole paced back and forth in the human's chamber, its insect legs clicking nervously on the floor. "This is impossible," it kept saying. "Your species achieved space flight only 50 years ago." "True," Tejo agreed, still watching the battle displays with that cold smile. "But we achieved warfare 5,000 years ago. We've had a lot of practice." Sisahara slithered closer to the tactical display. "Your fleet? These ships? Where did they come from?" "Everywhere," Tejo said simply. "Every mining operation in the asteroid belt, every research station on Mars, every orbital platform, around Earth. For 30 years, humanity has been building a defense network while pretending to build a peaceful space program." Yujin was beginning to understand the full scope of what she was seeing. "The cargo ships that went to the asteroid belt," she said quietly. "They weren't just carrying miners." "No," Tejo confirmed. "They were carrying engineers, weapons specialists, and construction equipment. Every civilian facility had a military purpose." Sora looked shocked. "But that means every space mission for the last 30 years was part of the preparation." Tejo finished. "Humans learned long ago that the best way to avoid war is to be so prepared for it that your enemies choose peace instead." The battle was entering its final phase. Admiral Yunji coordinated the human forces from her flagship, while Captain Bo-Ra and Commander Sung-Min led hunting packs of stealth ships that picked off the remaining functional alien vessels. Engineer Dione activated the final surprise: massive weapons platforms that rose from the surfaces of asteroids throughout the belt. These weren't hidden bases, they were the asteroids themselves, hollowed out and converted into mobile fortresses. "Sir," reported Minho from the Silent Thunder, "the alien command ship is trying to escape." "Let it," Captain Jae-sung ordered. "But make sure they see everything we want them to see." As Veltar's command ship tried to flee, it was suddenly surrounded by human vessels that seemed to materialize from nothing. Dozens of ships appeared, their weapons trained on the alien flagship, but not firing. "This is Captain Jae-sung of the Terran Defense Force," came the calm voice over the communication channel. "You are surrounded. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded." "We surrender," Veltar said, its crystal body dim with defeat. "No," Captain Jae-sung replied. "You don't surrender. You accept our protection while we sort out this misunderstanding." The station. Krex Mole watched its mighty fleet being systematically captured by an enemy it had underestimated. "How?" it asked Tejo. "How did you hide all of this?" "We didn't hide it," Tejo explained patiently. "We disguised it. Every weapon looked like a mining tool. Every warship looked like a cargo vessel. Every fortress looked like a research station. Your spies saw exactly what we wanted them to see." The final alien ship was disabled 3 hours later. The entire invasion fleet now floated helpless in space, their crews unharmed but their ships completely controlled by human nanobots. Dr. Chang-ho's voice came over the communication channels again. "All alien personnel are now under the protection of the Terran Defense Force. Medical teams are standing by to assist anyone who needs help. We will begin negotiations for your safe return as soon as possible." Veltar's confusion was obvious in its voice. "You're helping us after we attacked." "You?" "Of course," Admiral Yunji replied. "What did you expect?" "We expected you to destroy us," Veltar admitted. "Why would we do that?" Admiral Yunji asked. "You're defeated. You're no longer a threat. Destroying you would serve no purpose except cruelty, and humans don't fight for cruelty." "Then why do you fight?" Krex Mole asked. It was Taiho who answered, his voice carrying clearly across the communication channels. We fight to protect what we love. We fight to preserve peace. And we fight to prove that strength and mercy are not opposites. The alien commanders were silent for a long moment. Finally, Veltar spoke again. What do you want from us? Right now? Taiho said, his smile softening slightly. We want to make sure your crews are safe and healthy. After that, we want to have the conversation we came here to have in the first place, which is whether the galaxy is ready for humans to take their place among the stars. Though I think you've already answered that question. Sisahara was staring at the tactical displays in disbelief. You planned all of this? No, Taiho said firmly. We prepared for all of this. There's a difference. Planning suggests we wanted this to happen. We didn't. We hoped for peace and prepared for war. When you chose war, we were ready. The rescue operations began immediately. Human ships moved through the disabled alien fleet, offering medical aid, emergency supplies, and technical assistance. The same species that had just defeated them completely was now working to make sure they were comfortable and safe. I don't understand, Veltar said to Admiral Yunji. Why are you helping us? Because that's what humans do, Admiral Yunji replied. We fight when we must, but we help when we can. The war is over. Now comes the harder part, building a peace worth fighting for. On the council station, Taiho stood and faced his three companions. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you, he said, but some secrets are too important to share. Who are you really? Sora asked. Taiho's smile became warm and genuine for the first time since the crisis began. I'm exactly who I said I was, a diplomat who wants peace. The rest is just what I used to be, before I learned there were better ways to solve problems. But his smile never completely disappeared, because Taiho knew something the aliens were only beginning to understand, that the most dangerous enemy is not the one who wants to destroy you, but the one who is strong enough to destroy you and chooses mercy instead. The rescue operations took 2 days. Human ships moved through the defeated alien fleet like careful doctors, making sure every crew member was safe and every disabled ship had working life support. Captain Seok Jin coordinated the medical teams, while Commander Ji Young managed the technical repairs. It was the strangest aftermath to a battle that any species had ever witnessed. The victors were working harder to help their enemies than to celebrate their victory. Dr. Chang Ho arrived from Earth on the hospital ship Mercy, bringing medical supplies and food that alien species could safely eat. His team included doctors who had studied alien biology for decades, preparing for exactly this kind of situation. How are they treating you? Dr. Chang Ho asked a captured Zephyrian officer. Better than we deserve, the insect-like alien replied, its voice full of shame. On the council station, everything had changed. The aliens who had seemed so confident and superior now looked at their human prisoners with something close to fear. But it wasn't fear of violence. It was fear of their own ignorance. Taiho was no longer smiling. His face had returned to the calm, diplomatic expression his companions remembered, but none of them would ever forget that cold smile or what it had meant. The council is requesting immediate negotiations, Veltar announced. Its crystal body was dim, showing its defeat and embarrassment. Of course, Taiho said politely. That's why we came here. But the terms, Krexmol began. Will be fair, Taiho interrupted. We're not here for revenge. We're here for the same reason we always were, to find our place among the stars. The negotiations took place in the same chamber where the humans had first presented their request for membership. But now the atmosphere was completely different. The aliens who had once looked down on humanity now watched them with respectful caution. President Hyun-woo arrived from Earth 3 days later, bringing with him the true scope of humanity's demands. They were surprisingly modest. "We want 3 things," President Hyun-woo announced to the assembled council. First, immediate membership in the Galactic Council with full voting rights. Second, reparations for the unprovoked attack on our diplomatic mission. Third, a formal apology and guarantee that such attacks will never happen again. "That's all?" Sis Hara asked, its yellow eyes wide with surprise. "What did you expect?" President Hyun-woo asked. "Conquest," Veltar admitted. "Territory, tribute, the right to rule other species." President Hyun-woo looked genuinely confused. "Why would we want any of that? We have our own world. We have our own government. We don't want to rule anyone else." It was a concept the aliens found difficult to understand. In their experience, species that could dominate others always did. Admiral Eun-ji provided additional terms. "We also want to establish joint patrols with Council forces to protect trade routes from pirates and raiders. Our stealth technology combined with your knowledge of galactic politics could make space much safer for everyone. Dr. Yuna offered to share some of humanity's defensive technologies. Not our weapons," she made clear, "but our medical nanobots, our stealth systems, and our fusion power technology could benefit all Council species." The generosity was almost as shocking as the military defeat had been. Humans were offering to share the very technologies that had made their victory possible. "Why?" Krexmol asked. "Why would you give us the tools to fight you?" "Because we don't want to fight you," Taeho explained. "We want to work with you. The galaxy is big enough for all of us, but it's also dangerous enough that we need each other." The formal ceremonies took a week to arrange. Representatives from all 47 species gathered to witness humanity's induction into the Galactic Council. But instead of the subordinate position they had originally been offered, humans were granted one of the 5 prime seats, a position of leadership reserved for the most powerful species. Taeho stood before the council as Earth's new prime representative. The title was similar to ambassador, but with much more authority. "Honored members," he began, his voice carrying easily through the great chamber. "6 weeks ago, I came here as a supplicant, asking for membership in your community. Today, I stand here as your newest partner, ready to work together for the good of all species." But it was his next words that would be remembered throughout galactic history. "Some of you feared humanity because you saw our capacity for violence. You were right to fear that capacity, but you were wrong about what it means. A species that can destroy, but chooses to heal. That can conquer, but chooses to cooperate. That can rule, but chooses to serve. That is not a species to be feared. That is a species to be trusted." The council voted unanimously to accept all of humanity's terms. They had no real choice, but more importantly, they were beginning to understand that humans meant what they said about peace. Admiral Yoon-ji was placed in charge of the new Joint Defense Force, combining human stealth technology with alien weapons and shields. Captain Jae-sung became the commander of special operations, leading mixed crews of humans and aliens on missions to protect peaceful species from aggressors. Dr. Chang-ho established medical exchange programs, sharing human healing techniques while learning alien medicine. His work would save millions of lives across dozens of species in the years to come. Engineer Da-eun began teaching other species how to build hidden defensive networks like humanity's, not to threaten anyone, but to make sure that peaceful worlds could protect themselves from future threats. The transformation was remarkable. Within months, the galaxy was safer than it had been in centuries. Pirates found themselves facing invisible human ships working alongside powerful alien fleets. Aggressive species discovered that attacking peaceful worlds meant fighting the combined might of the Council and humanity. But perhaps the most important change was in how species viewed each other. Humans had proven that strength and mercy could coexist, that the most powerful species could also be the most peaceful. A year later, Taeho stood in the same chamber where he had first smiled that cold smile. But now his expression was warm and genuine as he addressed the council. "My friends," he said, "we have built something remarkable together. A galaxy where strength protects the weak, where the powerful serve the peaceful, and where different species work together instead of against each other." Veltar's crystal body glowed with warm colors. "You taught us something we had forgotten," it said. "That true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to." Krexmol, now one of Taiho's closest allies, clicked its agreement. "Humans fight like angels and show mercy like saints. You have made us all better than we were." As the session ended, Sora approached Taiho. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "Miss what?" "The smile," she said. "That cold smile when you knew something no one else did." Taiho considered the question seriously. "No," he said finally. "That smile was necessary once, but I prefer the one I wear now." "Which is?" Taiho smiled, and it was warm and genuine, and completely without threat. "The smile of someone who knows that peace is possible, because he's seen what the alternative costs." Outside the station's windows, human and alien ships patrolled together, their different designs working in perfect harmony. The galaxy had learned that when you attack a human diplomat, you don't just declare war on a species. You challenge a race that has spent millennia learning to be both the most dangerous warriors and the most generous friends in the universe. And, in the end, friendship had proven far more powerful than fear.